Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and today we are doing our Let's Make Art Matter for our month of June.
I didn't know if we should do it for Let's Make Art Matter, but I should have done it.
You should always do it.
Always do it. That's the rule.
We're doing cling wrap mountains, and I couldn't decide between the colorways, so I'm just going to paint both of these colors simultaneously. You guys can choose one. You can use whatever colors you have. And if you guys don't know, Let's Make Art Matter is something that we do where every month we choose someone to receive hand-painted postcards. When we had subscription boxes, the postcards would actually come in those boxes pre-addressed and pre-stamped. And so that way all you guys had to do was paint and then put them in the mail. We moved digitally, but it's such an important part of our business and what we believe to be important, that we have continued it. We just do it digitally. So we still pick someone, we give you the address, and then if you just want to kind of cut down your watercolor paper to a 4x6, or you can make it into a card and drop that in the mail, it really does make a difference. So for this month, I am asking you, and this one is a little bit more personal, but we're making postcards for my mom in celebration of my bonus dad's birthday. My bonus dad is my stepdad, but he married my mom when I was like 5, so I really can't remember a time without him. And he passed away unexpectedly about 4 years ago in kind of a freak accident when he was out of the country during COVID. So it was just a really hard thing, and it kind of rocked our family. But there was something, if you met him, you would look at these postcards and understand, because he was probably the most adventurous person I've ever met in my life. You know what I mean? If there was a mountain to climb, he climbed it. If there was an ocean to swim through, he would swim it. If there was a hike, four-wheeling, quadding, hunting, fishing, like literally any outdoor activity you can think of, motorcycle riding. I mean, like, he would explore caves, and it would just be one of those things where he'd be sitting at home and he'd be like, let's go. And you'd get in the car and you don't know how long he would be gone for. Like, it was just, he was always down for an adventure. And so, as we're nearing his birthday in June, I just wanted my mom to know that, he's not forgotten. And so if you guys don't mind kind of joining me in painting a postcard for him, that would be really, really meaningful. Sorry, trying not to get too emotional here. Okay, so we're going to be doing this project in 3 steps. We'll do our sky, our mountain, and then our trees. Okay, now please remember, this is your postcard. This is your project. So you can do something differently than I'm doing. You can just do one. But just so you know, whenever I'm not sure which colors I want to do, I usually just do both simultaneously, especially when they're small like this. And then either I like how both of them turn out and now I have 2 postcards, or halfway through I go, you know what, I don't like this one. And then I just focus on the one I do like. And it just kind of takes the question mark out of, would this have been better in these colors or this color? Okay, does that make sense?
Perfect.
Okay, so we are going to start with our oath. So if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
I promise to have fun.
Thank you. Okay, so for our very first step, I'm just going to sketch just the top of a mountain on both. The nice things about mountaintops are, like, you can't go wrong. They can be super pointy. They could be super flat. It doesn't really matter. And, like, if anything kind of gets funky, we can address it later on. So they don't have to be exactly the same. Again, I'm doing 2 just to show you how to do both colors, but you do not have to do 2. So again, it's up to you. Okay, so I'm going to do it step by step for both of these. So I'm going to start with the first one. We're going to grab clean water, and I'm just going to paint the sky portion using clean water. Because this is a 4x6 postcard, I'm not using a huge brush. This is a long round 10, so you can use whatever you want. Then I'm going to take my Cobalt, which is such a good blue color, and I'm just going to swoop it in. If you have room to have like a darker value, we usually want that to be near the top. And if you go into the mountain a little bit, that's okay too, because I would rather have a little bit of blue in my mountain than to have like a weird white halo around my mountain. Okay, that's it for the sky.
Step 1, done.
Step 1 done. Now we're going to do the sky for step 2. It's going to be the same thing. I'm going to wet it with clean water. Okay, and then this one I wanted to do like really strong, like desert color. So I'm thinking like purples and yellows. So I'm going to take like Q gold and a little bit of Q burnt orange for like the bottom part. And again, it's okay if it gets in your mountain. And then for the top part, I'm going to take some like Q purple, or I grabbed Rose of Ultramarine, which if you have that color, it's such a good color. And if you want it to lean more red, you can do coral in there. Coral.
I'm just thinking about Lynn and his adventures, and you're absolutely right. We'd be like just sitting eating snacks, and he's like, all right, everyone, let's go in the car. And I just never knew what to pack. I'm like, do I need a water bottle? Do I need a change of clothes?
There's no information.
A camera? What am I bringing?
Yeah, what do you... And then like for me, who's very food oriented,
you're like, will we be back for dinner?
That's why I pack snacks with me wherever I go. Because I'm like, I truly don't know when I will be able to eat again. Yeah. He was funny like that. And then I was actually just in Arizona. My mom and bonus dad lived in Arizona, and they were telling me this story about how they went to go visit my brother up in Montana. And they were doing this like very arduous hike. And my brother kind of warned them, okay, that's it for the sky. We're going to let that dry, and then we'll do the mountains. So my brother lives in Montana near the Canadian border, which is very high elevation. And before they came out to visit, he was like, hey, I really want to take you on this hike, but it's pretty arduous. So like prepare yourselves, like make sure that you're like in shape. And my dad worked out at sea a lot. So like elevation, 0. Yeah. And they said that they were doing it. And on the way back, he got so tired and he got so mad at his body for like giving out that they said that he just sat down and said, leave me here. Just leave me.
Just leave me.
Just leave me. He was like so mad. They were laughing so hard telling this story where like he was just mad that his body couldn't do it. He was like, I was on the treadmill every day. And it was just like the elevation is just so different.
Yeah.
But he made it back. But he was really sore for a bit.
Elevation affects you so much.
Yeah.
I don't think about it a lot, but like, oh my gosh,
It's
up in the
no joke.
mountains. Yeah.
And these mountains actually remind me one of the first times I went to, well, not one of the first times I went to Arizona, but I think I was probably about 7 or 8. He wanted to take us all rappelling, which if you don't know, you climb to the top of a mountain and you just like jump down on a rope. And I was 7 and I was just like, I didn't do it. My sister Mallory was the only one brave enough to do it. Okay, so for our next step, to be fair, I tried, but then I slipped and I scraped my knee, and that was just not okay with me. So I cried, and then he was like, okay, you don't have to do this. And I'm like, okay. Now I wish that I would have, because that was the one and only time I've ever had the opportunity to go rappelling, and I didn't take it.
We could rappel off some things right now. There's a Walmart. We could rappel off the side of the Walmart.
Yes.
It's the same.
Yes.
Beautiful. Nature.
Okay, now for our saran wrap, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the mountain. I'm going to drop in the colors. And for this top one, I'm using Sodalite Genuine and Undersea Green. And then I'm going to put cling wrap on top of it and let it dry, okay? So taking my brush, I'm just using the same brush, wetting the entire thing. And then I'm going to take Sodalite Genuine and Undersea. I'm just going to drop that in. If you want it to be more green, you add more green. And I'm keeping the color stronger near the bottom. And kind of lighten near the top so you could just do like a wash. And then one last thing, I'm just going to drop in this really strong color here. Okay, that's it. Then I take my cling wrap. And you want this to get bunchy, because the more bunchy it is, the more creases you're going to have. And that's what we want, is we want the creases.
You want to increase the
You want to
creases.
increase the what?
The creases.
Yes. Okay, I smeared a little paint up here. Do you see that? Where like it got on my hands and then I just pressed it.
Yep.
Let me think about what to do about that.
I'll get back to you.
Pretty quickly, if I do it quick, I bet you I could just blend it out. But I just need to make sure my brush is clean and my water is clean.
Oh, yep. And she's gone.
And she's gone. I might have to smooth out around the sky, but that's fine. And same thing over here. All right, she's gone. No problem.
Perfect.
Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to make a mental note to be really careful with my cling wrap as I kind of smear and press it so I don't make that same mistake again. You can see here, too, that the paint kind of moved up into over my pencil line. That's fine, because then I'll just move the edge of my mountain.
Yeah.
No big deal.
It looks like a peak behind.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, now for the bottom colors here, I'm going to do some of this Q gold / burnt orange, and then the rose of ultramarine. So again, I'm going for like deep reds, purples, oranges. And the fun thing about this could be the same mountain just depending on the lighting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that that's nice and wet, I'm going to grab some Q gold and burnt orange, and I'm going to drop that in. And then I'm going to take my rose of ultramarine and drop that in.
You longtime followers of the channel know that we moved to Missouri, and I've been very openly romantic about the Midwest. I love it here. But I did grow up in the mountains, and I miss mountains a lot. There's just something so comforting about the view of them to me, you know? Feels like a blanket.
Okay, then while this is wet, you want to make sure it's all painted in. Take your cling wrap.
Don't get your fingers in the sky.
Let's be a little bit more careful. And then try and get it to go to the edges if you can. There we go. That one I did better. Okay, and then we just let this dry. So I'll meet you back here when our paint has dried. See you in a minute. Okay, you guys, we're back, and I believe the bottom one still has some drying to do, but the top one is dry enough that I can work on that while this dries. So I'm going to carefully remove. Oh, and look at all of that texture.
Dang.
Isn't that so cool?
I love how this is a given, but I love how they never look the same.
It never looks the same. And I see on these darker areas, I see that it's just a little bit shiny. So I'm just going to dry it using my heated craft tool so I don't accidentally
get it
rest
in the sky.
my hand in it, because I will do that. Now, before we do the trees, I just want to finish off the mountains. So whenever you do mountains like this is like enough. But I have noticed that if you add a little bit of a shadow along the top ridges, it makes it look like there's peaks behind it and gives it that dimension. Okay. So I'm going to take my brush, whatever one that you have. I'm still using my long round 10. And I'm going to take a mixture of that kind of undersea and indigo. And so like on this little ridge right here, I'm just going to add a little bit of a shadow like that. And you can even have some darker parts if you just want to like drop in that color. On this side, we're going to do the same thing. And then here is where we kind of added a little bit of a ridge because the paint smeared. And sometimes I'll do it just to like sharpen the top of a mountain as well. And then if you're feeling really like, why not? You can take a dry brush and do some dry brush texture. That's just if you want that little bit. You can also, sometimes I'll use even a tinier brush just to do a little stronger shadow. But see, doesn't that finish it so nicely?
Yeah, very nice.
Okay. Now we're going to do the trees. The trees are optional. I just sometimes like having a third element to give it more depth. So I'm going to do a few conifer trees on the right-hand side. Did I say that right?
You did.
Are you impressed with me?
I'm going to award you an honorary biology degree.
I'm trying to get you to fall in love with me, so.
Impossible.
Okay, so you can do trees across the whole bottom. I just did it on the right-hand side because there's not a lot of dark value on here. I'm going to do it on the right-hand side. If it was switched to where this kind of medium value was right here on the left, then I would do my trees on the left-hand side. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
The dark value trees will show up stronger against a lighter background. So I'm just going to take my liner brush and I'm going to just start by putting in the trunks. Your brain is going to want them to be evenly spaced and all of the same height. So you have to purposely let them be wonky. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to use the tip of my brush to do dashes that overlap horizontally. And the overall shape of my tree is going to be triangular. So as it goes down, it's going to get thicker. And then you're saying, but then it runs into other trees. Uh-huh. Yep.
That's
Trees
real
overlap.
life. Yep.
Trees sure do. They really do overlap. So it's okay. But you still have to paint each tree, like give it its own thing. So even though I have a little guy over here, I still have to paint it. And then I have a guy right here. Gonna paint that. And also it's okay if you leave some areas bare. Think about all the different types of trees. There are some trees where the branches like these kind of point up. There are some where they point down, and there are some where they point to the side. I think it just depends on the type of tree. So do whatever one you feel like. You just want to make sure that it gets nice and narrow at the top. Here's one if I leave it a little bit more sparse. And I mean, if you guys have ever been like in the woods, there are some trees that are super sparse. There are some that are very full. There are some that are crooked. There are some that lean to the right or the left. There are some that are wonky. This tree kind of like totally combined with this one, which is fine. So I'm just going to do another one right here and give it a little bit more space so it can have its own room.
Lovely.
There we go. Okay. That's it. That's it for our first postcard. Isn't it pretty?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, God. Okay. Now let's see if this one is ready. And how I can tell if it's dry is you see this area. I'm going to push that saran wrap. If the paint doesn't move underneath it, it's dry. If I push it and you see that paint move, it's not dry. Yes. Okay, and we're just going to repeat the same thing. I love the textures we got here. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to grab that same kind of purple orangey color, and we are going to add just some shadows on our peaks here. Usually I pick like a side to focus on. That. This guy kind of stuck out a lot, which is fine with me. And then here, if you just want to like, kind of like sharpen it a bit, you can also use a smaller brush for darker areas. So, and I love me some dry brush, so that's what I'm going to do.
Bang, that transformed that.
Doesn't it just make it actually seem dimensional and pop?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. A few little texture strokes, a little bit of shadow, ba-bam. You know, it's interesting because like, I don't know, death is such a part of our life. Like everybody has experienced loss.
Yeah.
And when people first pass away, it's like fresh, you know, all this kind of stuff. And then you kind of just have to figure out how to have this new life without this individual. And then I think people are afraid to talk about the individual or bring it up. But grief doesn't just like go away, right? Like it's not linear. And so sometimes it hits you. But But what I've noticed is that, like, I think people are afraid to ask about it and talk about it. And I think that's why I wanted to do these cards, because I think that's probably one of the hardest things to deal with when you lose someone is like, you don't get to talk about them anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what people want to do is they want to talk about how much they miss them or tell funny stories or all of this kind of stuff. But I think we as people who are like watching this loss or other people, sometimes we're afraid of that.
You don't want to make people
You don't want to make
uncomfortable.
people upset.
Yeah.
And it's hard because for some people, they don't want to talk about it, but some people really do. And they just are afraid to because they don't want to make other people uncomfortable. And then it just becomes this like weird, we don't talk about this space, which I think makes it even more difficult to experience that grief and mourn because you're not experiencing it, right? You're like shoving it down.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to do our trees. Same thing. I can decide if I want to do it on the left or the right. I think I might do it on the left actually, just because, well, I really like that yellow though. I don't know if I want to cover that up.
Do them upside down coming out of the sky. Problem
Genius.
solved.
You're a genius.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, this is interesting. On this one, I use way more Undersea green, and this one I use more Sodalite genuine. Can you see the color differences?
Oh, yeah.
This feels icy, like tundra.
That reminds me of Glacier National Park color.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So even the colors, as you can see just between these two, the colors are going to give you a indication of seasonality, of location, of weather, of time of day, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, I am going to do the right-hand side because I really do like that gold.
Sarah, can you go ahead and do the right-hand side so we can preserve the gold, would you say?
Genius.
Thank you.
I'm going to mix Rose of Ultramarine and gold together. It's going to give me this like dark red or purple. I'm going to do the same thing. I think what kind of threw me, like whenever you experience loss, especially from someone that's so close to you, so important to you, is like life just continues.
Yeah.
And I've heard that before, but like to experience it. And not only that life that continues, but losing a parent is not a rare occurrence. I would say that I was younger than most, or not most, but some. But everybody loses their parent. And so then I kind of became in this state of like almost amazement that we as a society function
Yeah.
while there's so much loss. Like everyone is experiencing loss and grief. And I'm just like, I can't believe that we still can get things done in the world
Yeah.
when there is so much pain. I don't know. And it just also felt like, I think because it was so unexpected, it just made me question, I don't know,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I remember exactly where I was out gardening. You know, I remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Planting tomatoes.
Planting tomatoes and I don't know. Before, I guess I felt like one of those two toy cars in like a plastic wrap in the store where I was just like protected and I had a space. Like I didn't know that I had a space, but I was like safe in the world.
Yeah.
And then when something like that happens, you're like torn off from that and just like thrown into oblivion. And I was just like, I am no longer safe in the world. There is no rhyme or reason to anything.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to deal with that.
That was difficult. I forgot that it was during COVID, but that was all that added so much chaos to all of the process, you know, just because like,
Because it was COVID and
Yeah.
because it was out of the country and not close.
yeah.
It was really difficult actually trying to get his body back. Okay.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. I love it.
Okay. I just know he would have loved this. I don't mean to cry, but I think sometimes it's good. Because if there's one thing that we all experience in this life, it is knowing that there are going to be happy times and there are going to be hard times. And it's okay to be sad during the hard times, and it's okay to be happy during the happy times. And it's going to be both. And it's not one or the other all of the time. And I think art has this way of unifying those experiences where we can recognize that humanity in each other. You experience joy and passion and loss, and I experience joy and passionate loss. So at that very base, we can connect. And I think art reminds us of that. It moves us to create, to work through things, to express a feeling, to send a postcard to someone to let them know that we're thinking about them. That is so important. And it helps us feel more connected to ourselves and the people around us. And that is our goal. That's what we're trying to do here at Let's Make Art. I don't care if this painting is beautiful. I don't care if it gets framed or not. I don't care if it's museum quality or archival quality, will last 50,000 years. What matters is how we can spend this time that we have and how we can do it in a way that we can uplift others and connect with other people and experience vibrancy, and just for us, you know what I mean, to pursue that passion. So thank you so much for joining me on this Let's Make Art Matter. We have the address. It's actually just going to be our business P.O. box, and I'm just going to make sure my mom gets the cards because I didn't ask.
She lives right here.
She lives right here, and I didn't ask her to do this, and I didn't want to give out her home address without asking her. So that's why they're going to our business. But anyways, if you need that address, it's just P.O. Box 342, Hamilton, Missouri. You can find it on our website. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. If there is someone you know that you think could benefit from a art hug, we have a nomination form on our website, so you can find that there. I appreciate those who do this. It's what makes it special. And also, Lynn, my bonus dad, his favorite dessert was key lime pie. So if you want to have a key lime pie in his honor or go on an adventure, and I'm sure he would love that. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.